Greetings, Pastor Michael. Today is January 29, and I have for us to share a reading from Narcotics Anonymous just for today. The topic of this reading today is about the first step. This first step is an action step. We can't just go through it without engaging it, acting on it. And if you're like me, that time that you have to address first step, you got to wrestle with it because it's not an easy one. But as we covered the first step and the concept of being powerless earlier in the month on January 13th in a reading for Just for Today, and you could find it in our list. Today, we are moving on to cover the first step as a surrender after managing the concept of its powerlessness. So let's get on with our reading. First step and action step. Do we understand that we have no real control over drugs and our addiction? This can be found on page 29. If we turn to the basic text on page 18, we see, at first, many of us may have thought the first step required no action. We just surrender and go on to step 2. But we've learned that step 1 does require our action. The action that we take in the first step will be evident in the way we live, even from our first day of being clean. If we truly believe that we are powerless over our addiction, we will not choose to be around drugs. To continue to live with or associate with practicing addicts may indicate a reservation about us and our program. An absolute belief that the first step applies to us will ensure that we clear our homes of all drugs and paraphernalia. As time goes on, we not only continue with these basics, but we add new actions to our first step repertoire. We learn to feel our feelings rather than trying to control our feelings. We stop trying to be our own and only guides on our recovery journey. Self-sponsorship will stop and go away. We begin looking to a power greater than ourselves, more and more for spiritual satisfaction, rather than trying to fill that void with something else. Surrender is only the beginning. Once we surrender, we need to learn how to live in peace that we have found. Just for today, I will take all action necessary to practice my first step. I truly believe that it applies to me. Yes, indeed. This ends the official reading of Just for Today, as published by Narcotics Anonymous, but it certainly does not end our topic of discussion. There's a lot that we can cover here. And of course, most of this coverage is going to be steered by what your expectations are, what you want to hear, how practicing this first step involves your life and those people in it. If you cannot make it to our video session that you're seeing here today, then my suggestion is that you fire up your email program and you send an email to the address minister@spiritofpeace.us. In the subject line, please put today's date, January 29th, Narcotics Anonymous, NA, first step, powerlessness, surrender, whatever you feel is going to point us in the right direction of what you're going to be saying in the body of the email. We want to hear from you because what you have to say is important, and we don't live on an island. We want to hear from those people who are interested in engaging us, because we're always looking forward to engaging all. People here are welcome to our open meeting of Narcotics Anonymous. Okay, at this time, let's move on to a summary of our discussion. It would not be fitting to move forward without reciting Narcotics Anonymous Step 1. We admitted that we were powerless over our addictions and that our lives had become unmanageable. Now, as I said earlier, we discussed the concept of powerlessness in a recent video presentation, one of them on January 13th, discussing just for today, and can be found in our list. We can go deeper into the topic at this time if you were interested in doing so. But otherwise, we will move on. Surrender. Now, what about it? What does it mean? How does it affect us? Well, when we're practicing step 1 and we're moving forward through our first 3 steps, we're going to learn real quickly that our higher power is going to be in charge of our lives anyway. If we want to get on with this recovery from our addictions, it's not very easy to do without the higher power, probably impossible. It's not very easy to do without a sponsor, probably impossible. And it's not easy to do without accountability partners. Those are the people that we have around us in our lives. We select them because we believe that we can honestly be accountable to them, and they take a real invested interest in us. So, when we surrender, we give up these obstacles that are in our path, that we keep on throwing in our way by trying to take control out of the hands of our higher power and into our own. Surrender requires serious active engagement, but it does not have to be a struggle. Now, there's a relationship going on here between an action step and honesty. We have to be honest with ourselves first, and we should be honest with one another. Those people invested in us, our sponsor, our accountability partners, those people that we love and care for. The first step is just the beginning of our recovery process. The healing is going to start here. And we cannot go any further until we work this step. We've got to get through it. We've got to take it on. It may feel like it hurts. It may feel like it's rough. It may even feel like it's impossible. But we're going to get through it. This is why we have sponsors, accountability partners, and we care about ourselves, and we care about you. Now, the big plan is we hope to internalize the principles that we find in step 1. We want to deepen ourselves to surrender. We want to get our arms around this. We want to really take it on and experience it in a real way, meaningfully. So, we are going to learn about the principles of acceptance, humility, willingness, honesty, and open-mindedness. They're going to become fundamental to who we are. And we're just going to keep on working them. Why? because we care about ourselves, we care about you, and we care about one another. So, in our discussion, it was brought up that active addiction is characterized by a powerlessness, which we covered earlier, over a compulsion to abuse a particular substance or behavior, resulting in our negative consequences. Boy, that sounds like a big mouthful, but what it says rather simply is we got problems. Our problems feel like they're big and deep and overwhelming, and they'd like to pull us under. But we're not going to drown in our problems. We're not going to drown in our pity. We're not going to drown in our drama. We're going to grab that thing that we're wrestling with by the horns, and we're going to make the best of it. So, we have a music ministry here. These people like to find music that engages the listener, and we certainly hope that they're achieving that if you've listened to a few of our videos. The one that they found here for the step one is called Can't Stop by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. The YouTube link can be found by going to our blog, spiritofpeace.us, navigating to Spirit on the A's, maybe picking out the search bar, putting step one in there. Powerlessness, the surrender, Can't Stop, Red Hot Chili Peppers. You'll find it. And it really has an energy. These guys really capture that feeling, at least for me, that I experience when step one is trying to get a grip. And I'm doing the best that I can to put aside all that shindig that got me here in the first place. You're free to listen to that if you want to. You're free to not listen to it if you don't want to. I'd like to move forward with our step one prayer for Narcotics Anonymous. In closing, dear higher power, I admit that I am powerless over my addiction. I admit that my life is unmanageable when I try and control it. This is the true meaning of powerlessness. Please remove me from all denial of my addiction and allow me to surrender to you. Amen. Well, we look forward to hearing from you. We wish you many good feelings of serenity, much courage, a peaceful moment or two, and joy as you go through today. May God bless you.